Yes, good morning to all. I was asked to make this little video and explain a bit more about the infant Jesus of Prague. But when I was in Czech Republic, when I was over in Prague, the one of the promise I did make was to spread the devotion of the infant Jesus of Prague when I come back to England. But so I want to explain first of all that basically, a lot of people knows, the infant Jesus of Prague, it's a devotion going back since 1300s. It's only 1,000 years. But originally, the infant Jesus of Prague statue, the one in Prague right now, the Our Lady of Victoria's Church, it was originally owned by St. Teresa of Avalon. And she bought it for a present for her daughter. Anyway, the war happened in the meantime. It ended up in Prague anyway, but the war at the meantime took place in Prague, Czech Republic at that time. And a lot of churches was destroyed. A lot of Catholics was killed. And this statue, original statue anyway, was damaged and threw into a fire. And it was in a fire anyways. And this priest come around one day and picked the statue up, and the only thing that was missing the statue, there was his hands. So he put the statue in the front of the altar in his church and he started praying. But all of a sudden the statue spoke to him. He says, "Have pity on me and I will have pity on you. Give me my hands and I will give you peace. The more you honour me, the more I will bless you." So anyway, the man obviously done in the Vina, and before you knew it, he prayed that he would get the money together and to get these hands fixed. Before you know it, out of the middle of nowhere, some fella turns up at this church of Lady Victoria's, and the priest starts to talk to him, and he said, "I can fix them hands." So this is already God working here. Before you know it, he got the money together and he started fixing the church up. But anyway, let me go back to how we end up in Prague anyway. So as everyone was quite familiar about my brother Brian's child, he made a voice note not long ago and he explained it very, very well himself. Couldn't explain any better. So she was suffering with, she had a disease called sepsis. Now this is like, I never knew about this myself. I'm not even familiar about it. It's only lately now I'm hearing about it. But some people it can die in between 4 hours. The organs can fail and that's it. But her body now, her lungs was failing, and obviously managed to keep them stable. Her heart was nearly gone, kept that stable. Her heart was very high. Breathing was very high. Now her blood was poisoned. She had carbon monoxide in her blood, mind you, and she was only 13 months. And now the doctor said they had no hope for her. They said there's nothing more we can do. She can't get any worse, or she's in a very, very worse state than you can ever get anyone. Than anyone can ever be, especially a little baby. But this baby was very, very bad. She wasn't moving. They had her on 5 medications. So anyway, this was 8 days now she was in the hospital. So I was home one day with my family, started doing the novena for this little baby to the infant Jesus of Prague. But something come into my head to mention my brother Brian to go to this country. Now, I've never been in this country before in my life. When I heard about this, I know that there's many miracles coming from this church, from people being blind, that people had no families, or people that couldn't walk before the novena was finished. The prayers answered. But anyway, so it was two days coming into my head to mention my brother Brian. And I'm thinking, how am I going to go around to mention this fella? He's not going to have this. He's not going to want this. He's not going to buy this, because he didn't want to leave his little baby behind, and I understood that. And he didn't want to leave his wife behind. I understood that. But I finally got the courage to say to him in the hospital, said, "Listen, what do you reckon we'll go to a country is in Prague, the infant Jesus?" And of course he wasn't interested first, but got to talk with him, and two was sitting down checking their phones. Before you know it, a few things popped up on my phone. I was checking the hotels, tickets. Before you know it, I seen a number of a priest of the church coming up. I couldn't believe this. And I rang it. And to be honest with you, if I hadn't ring, I don't even think we'd probably ever go to that church. But this was God was open doors for us now. But rang the number and the priest answered. Before you know it, asked a few questions. "Father, so think about going over with me and my brother. We want to do a 9-hour novena to the infant Jesus, the emergency prayer." And for anyone who's not familiar with it, that's there. It's a powerful one-day novena. Anyway, he says, "No problem." He said, "Come over, you're more than welcome." So drops the phone. 10 minutes later, we rang up again. Ask him more questions. Father, how far is the airport, the Prague airport, from you? He said 30 kilometres, 20 mile. And he said, before you go, he said, we have Novena here on a Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And that was a month I called. He said Thursday, Friday and Saturday, lead up to Sunday. And on Saturday, we're taking down the statue of the infant Jesus. Now this was the original infant Jesus statue that St. Teresa owned. And on Sunday is the feast, sorry. Well, I couldn't believe this, to be honest with you. I said, I knew now, if it was 99% sure before, I knew this was 110% sure that we were meant for to go over this country. God was just opening all doors for us. And he drops the phone, gets the tickets booked, books the hotels. Anyway, on the 3rd of May, the day we're going over, there's the Thursday, I went to Mass that morning. And I couldn't believe it when I heard the gospel that day. And this was God surely, he was showing that, amen, he wanted us to go over there. And it was, the gospel that day was John chapter 14, verse 6 up to 14. Whatever you ask the Father in my name, I will give to you. And I couldn't believe it, because this was the novena we were going over to do. Oh, Jesus who said, all that you ask the Father in my name. And I couldn't believe this. But anyway, at 1:25, we got our tickets, landed to Prague, got to the church, got our novena, got our Mass. But what we didn't know is on the far side, this little baby that the doctor said that they had no hope for, she moved her little toe. This was God already working his miracles. But anyway, our motto is to fast on Wednesday up to Friday. So we gets to the church, and on the following day was on the Thursday we land, the following day was the Friday, goes to the church at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now our motto was not to leave this church for 9 or 10 hours. So we done 9 rosaries, 9 divine mercies, and we done this prayer at every hour on the hour. Now again, I make this video to glorify God, not to glorify ourselves, but to spread the devotion to the infant Jesus, as we promised. But anyway, the following day, that was a Friday, just at the last hour, we're on the 7th to 8th hour, we got a phone call. This baby completely moved her body. She was moving her hands. We could not believe this. When my brother told me this, I could not believe this. I just could not believe it. I was going on to church, and I could not stop praising the Lord. I could not stop praising him and thanking him, you know. On the following day, and there were 7, 8 hours again into novena. I'm sure it was the 8th hour into novena again, 8 rosaries, 8 divine mercies. Got another phone call, her eyes open. Well, I could not believe this, man. This was God showing his miracle just before novenas were even finished. Anyway, I spoke to a few people, and 2 other people, and a priest says, at separate times, said, we don't know how you got through to the priest, because the Father never answers the phone, and even come out of the priest's mouth. He said, I don't know how you got through to us, he said, because we never answer the phone late at night. He said, God wanted you to be in this country. Anyway, landed home back to England, and that was Sunday. The following day was a bank holiday Monday, and doctors come up to Brother Brian. I think it was around 2 o'clock, and they said to him, on the 3 o'clock, we're turning off the higher machine and put on a lower one. And that was Divine Mercy Hour. And I couldn't believe this. This was God again showing us his mercy. Anyway, every day after that, all she was doing was improving. Anyway, from the Thursday I was going over to start novena to the following Thursday, again the doctors come up to my brother Brian. So we are turning the machines off completely, taking off all her medications. Her bleeding stopped, her swelling went down, her heartbeat went down. I mean, this baby was this was a miracle. This what happened here. And on Divine Mercy Hour again, they said they're doing this. This was the 3 o'clock. This was God showing us his mercy at 3 o'clock again, on Divine Mercy Hour. And we could not believe this, you know. And obviously, through everyone's prayers and through all the men in the Bible study, we couldn't thank you enough for all your prayers and everyone that prayed. It just goes to show you that when our prayers is united as one, and we pray from the heart, you know, God will answer our prayers. And just want to say quickly, anyone that has a statue of the infant Jesus of Prague, if you find that the head is fell off or the hands fell off, you have to get it repaired. That's the whole idea. That's why you ever repaired in the very first, in the beginning. But there is novenas of the infant Jesus. There's a chaplet, as you can see. There's a chaplet. You can link it up in the Google. There's a novena every week you can do to the infant Jesus of Prague, and you can honor the statue. That's what you have to do: spread devotion, honor the statue, venerate it. And anyway, this church is in the Czech Republic in Prague. Once you get off the airport in Prague, just showed the image of the infant Jesus. It's called Our Lady of Victorious. Again, it's a beautiful church, and there's many miracles happening over there. I would advise anyone going over there, especially people that really needs emergency fast prayers. This is the place. But when you go over there, please put your trust in God, because that's the whole idea of it. You have to put your trust in God. You have to believe your prayers have already been answered. But it's just amazing how God works, you know. How He opened all these doors for us from the reading of that gospel and that mass, you know. It just was amazing that how God works. And He can do this for anyone, every one of us, as long as you put your trust in God. Just believe your prayers have been answered, and you'll see that He will work miracles. But have a lovely, blessed day to everyone. God bless.